Greetings and welcome. Miracles with a Twist. I'm Lori Cardona. It is May, I think 20th. And about a week ago, I had a sacred service gathering to discuss A Course in Miracles material. Miracles with a Twist is an interfaith, intercultural perspective on A Course in Miracles and A Course in Miracles perspective on daily life. Spiritual perspective, mystic perspective, a way to look at what's going on by not getting immersed in the upset reaction of what's going on. So we had a gathering, and since the gathering, I've had a number of people ask me if it was recorded, and it was not. Generally, when I have in-person gatherings, I don't do recordings because they can be rather long, just like our gatherings on the beach. There's more to the coming together than just discussing a lesson. It includes prayers, meditation, sometimes dancing, and a lot of interactive discussion. So I have been asked to at least do a little recap of what was discussed, and so that's what we're doing here today. So welcome, Miracles with a Twist. Well, one of the things that keeps coming up a lot in discussions around spiritual perspective is how do we maintain our belief system, our faith in something that promises to help us rise higher consciously, to eradicate the ego, when in fact we have so much external outside in the world happenings that create opportunities for us to examine how we are responding and reacting. So whether it's political, social, personal, betrayal, whatever it is that's happening, we as each individual spark of light have our own responsibility in terms of how we respond to what's going on. And sometimes we're just focused on the upset, and we're focused on the upset so much that we sometimes forget about what it is we might be able to do to soothe ourselves, to soothe others, to be of conscious raising examples, to be helpful, to even affect change, whether it's on a political level, a social level, or personal, interactive, however that is. It still comes back to us. It still comes back to our own opportunity on how we're seeing it, how we're interpreting it, and how we can find peace instead of our upset. And maybe that peace is just a moment, maybe it's just a glimpse, but we keep coming back to that. So I use the example of the allegory of the cave, which I've spoken about before. Plato was a student of Socrates back in the 4th century. And unlike Socrates, he was able to write. He was going to be a politician. He was very educated. He became a student of Socrates, and he became enamored with philosophical concepts and mystical concepts as well. So the allegory of the cave is one of his stories in his highly published series of books called The Republic. I think it's like book 7. Anyway, in the allegory cave, you have prisoners who have never seen the light of day. They've never seen the outside world. They only see whatever glimpse of what they have access to. So from their different perspectives, they can see something. So maybe somebody can see a tree. Somebody else can see a sliver of sky. They don't all see the same thing. And so their perception of what's out there is very different, one from the other. So in the story, someone escapes and he's able to go outside and he sees everything. He sees the whole world in front of him as it is, not just what it was. What he thought was his whole world was just that one sliver of information. And now he sees so much more. He sees people, he sees life, he sees boats, he sees cars. Well, maybe not cars, it was the 4th century, but he sees what's out there to see, animals and sky and the changes of the stars. And he was so excited that instead of continuing to have that life, he went back in to tell his fellow prisoners what it was that was out there, what was for them beyond this one space, and they thought he was crazy. They thought he had lost his mind because they could not conceptualize, they could not conceive of anything beyond what they could see in that moment. And A Course in Miracles tells us something very similar. Maybe Jesus was a reincarnation of Plato, or maybe he studied Plato. I don't know. But it says this in A Course in Miracles, which was, 1965, in chapter 20, Vision of Holiness. It says, prisoners bound with heavy chains for years, starved and emaciated, weak and exhausted, eyes so long cast down in darkness, they don't remember the light, nor do they leap in joy the instant they are made free. So I think that what that is telling us in this day and time is that because of external circumstances, we may be tempted to draw our eyes down in darkness. We may not remember that in A Course in Miracles, it tells us time and time again, you are needed, who you are, as you are. You are essential. It talks about these great rays of light that are needed. And we're the ones who are being called to be that great ray of light, to join that great ray of light. Because if we keep our eyes downcast, if we continue to believe that the one thing that we are focused on is the only thing there is, then we will not be able to leap with joy when we are set free. And how are we set free? We are set free by praying harder, rising higher, forgiving steadily, and loving readily, whatever is in front of us, that we can see peace, even if it's just a glimmer, even if it's just a moment. That is what we have to hold on to. That is what we have to commit to. A great awakening starts within, and then it is expanded without. I know there are times when things look very dire. It's temporary. It may not feel temporary, but it's temporary. We're temporary. We're just here for a short time. One of the other things that I discovered recently was a book by a woman by the name of Etty Hillesum. I had not been familiar with her before, maybe just a couple months ago, actually. And she was a Jewish woman in Holland, I believe it was, during the rounding up of Jews to Auschwitz and to other concentration camps. And she knew what was going on. And she was trying to help people to hide, to find ways to perhaps make some change. And it was not happening. And she just kept seeing things were getting worse and worse. And she decided that she herself did not want to become immersed in her, I want to say hatred, but I'm not sure if she used the word hatred, but her upset. We'll just say her upset around what was going on. And I wanted to read this quote to you. Etty Hillesum is her name. She says, "Yes, I know about the evil of the world, but I return to myself every night. I return to the original source of my faith, as if entering a convent and returning confident in my moral duty to find peace within myself." And when I read that, I thought of what a great challenge that must have been to her as her own individual spiritual dedication and goal, to return to the convent within herself, to return to this sacred place within herself, the temple, the synagogue, the ashram. It's all within. That's what we return to time and time again. Not to the upset, not to the outside world, not to the betrayals, not to the gossips, not to the politicians, to our own hearts. That's what we return to, night after night, day after day. Helen Keller, quote, said, "Although the world is full of suffering, it is also very full of the overcoming of suffering." And Frank, isn't it wonderful to know that we not need wait one moment more to do our part in making the world a better place? Those are the things we discussed. Those are the things we come back to time and time again. In lesson 284 of A Course in Miracles, it tells us and it reminds us that there were things that we only just begin to accept as real. And then we start to accept it, but with reservation, as if to say, okay, I can understand why this is important. It's important for me to forgive and to love and to rise higher. But my story is so special, I'm going to put myself aside for a moment and wallow in my upset. And then it says, well, once you've done that and moved past that, then you can see that it is a concept that applies all around in all circumstances, that we come back to ourselves. That's all we have, our own decision, our own goal to rise higher, to be peace, to come back to that covenant within our heart. The covenant, the convent, the ashram. Let there be peace on earth, and let it begin with me. With peace and love, we can change the world. With peace and love, we are making a new world. Om Shanti, peace, shalom. That's what we said, and that's what we'll do. God bless you.